The order had already been given. Fall back, leave nothing behind. But along a shallow river line, one position didn't go quiet. German troops advanced, expecting another empty stretch, and instead walked straight into sustained fire. Not scattered shots, not panic, controlled bursts, again and again. From their side, it felt like a full position had been left behind. What they couldn't see was how few men were actually there, and how long that line held when it should have collapsed in minutes. Hi, I'm Matt, and this is Battlefield Legends, where we tell true stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival from the battlefield. May 1940. Across northern France and Belgium, the British Expeditionary Force was pulling back under relentless pressure. Roads were clogged, orders changed by the hour, rearguards were stretched thin. This was days before the beaches, before evacuation became the plan. This wasn't victory anymore, this was survival. Along a shallow riverline near Belgian village of Esquelmes, units of the Grenadier Guards were ordered forward, not to advance, but to delay, to hold ground that everyone knew could not be held for long. Behind them, the withdrawal had already begun. Boots on gravel, vehicles pulling away, positions thinning out. Once firing started here, it wouldn't stop quietly. They weren't there to win, they were there to buy time, and time in those days was the most valuable thing on the battlefield. Lance-Corporal Harry Nicholls was 25 years old, a regular soldier, no reputation attached to his name. He wasn't supposed to be remembered. He was supposed to do his job and move on. He was leading a small section forward when the German fire cut loose. Machine guns already set, firing from close range. Almost immediately, Nicholls was hit. Shrapnel tore into his arm. The sensible thing, the expected thing, would have been to fall back, to hand over command, to get treated. But the firing ahead was already too close, and the movement behind him was already fading. Nicholls didn't fall back. Instead, he pressed on. Pinned by machine guns, the section was in danger of being wiped out where it stood. Nicholls made a decision that would define the next stretch of his life. He dragged a Bren gun into position, a light machine gun meant to support sections, not be carried forward alone. It was heavy, awkward, never meant to be fired like this by one wounded man. Not for cover fire, not to hold the line quietly. He advanced. Firing from the hip, he closed the distance under fire, pouring bursts into the German positions. One machine gun fell silent, then another. The pressure eased, just enough. Enough for the men behind him to breathe, enough to keep moving. But the cost was already mounting. Nicholls was hit again, and again. Each step forward came slower than the last. Still, he stayed upright. From the German side of the river, the firing never seemed to stop. Controlled bursts, relentless rhythm, no collapse. They could hear movement, see muzzle flashes, feel pressure where there should have been none. To them, this wasn't a single man. It felt like a full position, refusing to fall silent. What they didn't realise was that most of the British line had already gone, that this fire was being kept alive by one wounded soldier, helped only by a comrade feeding ammunition forward. The Bren dragged at his arms, blood soaked his sleeve. There were moments, seconds, where the firing slowed, where he had to force himself back up, where standing again felt harder than being hit. Then the bursts resumed. Nicholls fired until the Bren ran dry, and when the firing slowed, he dragged himself forward again. Put yourself there for a moment. You're wounded, cut off. The withdrawal is already underway behind you. Do you pull back while you still can? Or do you keep firing, knowing that every extra minute might cost your life, but save someone else's? Nicholls had already made his choice. Eventually, there was nothing left. No ammunition, no strength, no way out. Nicholls had been wounded at least 4 times. Blood loss was taking its toll. The firing finally stopped. After the noise, the silence felt unreal. When German troops reached the position, they didn't find a fortified line. They didn't find a unit waiting for them. They found one man, exhausted, gravely wounded, but still alive. Harry Nicholls was taken prisoner. For a time, he was listed as dead. Back in Britain, the reports moved on without him. Maps were updated, lines were redrawn, names were marked off. Accounts filtered through of a stand that had prevented a collapse, of machine guns silenced, of an advance slowed when minutes mattered most. Harry Nicholls was awarded the Victoria Cross. At first it was believed it would be given to his widow. Then, much later, word came back. Nicholls was alive. He had survived captivity, survived the wounds, survived the war. In 1945, King George VI placed the medal into his hands personally, a recognition not of victory, but of refusal. Harry Nicholls did not stop an army. He did something far quieter and far rarer. He held when holding no longer made sense. He stayed when retreat was the rule. He turned a withdrawal into an act of resistance. In wars defined by movement and collapse, his stand was measured not in miles, but in minutes. Minutes that others used to escape. The battlefield moved on, but moments like that remain, because the battlefield never forgets, and neither do we.